Service wasn't something you signed up for in my family. It wasn't something we did on special occasions. It was just what we did. We used to joke around that, other kids would be opening presents on Christmas morning, or looking for Easter eggs on Easter morning, and we were at the soup kitchen serving, and then we got to go do those things. The seeds were kind of getting deeper and deeper, and the experience was becoming more important to me, so that when I went to college, I wanted to go to a place that talked about service and talked about justice. At that point in my life, even though I'd been very involved in youth ministry, I wasn't particularly passionate about the faith. I had a friend who was a couple years older, and she enlisted me in a particular service program where we would bring sandwiches and food to folks on the streets of Philadelphia at night. We would be bringing sandwiches and tea to people who suffered from profound poverty, often from mental illness, and lived in the streets. And some of these people became folks that I got to know well. And the end of my first semester came and went, and I remember coming back to Philadelphia, and I was downtown with some friends, and we were walking up Market Street, and we were making our way to the subway, and my friends were a few feet behind me, and I heard someone call my name. And I stopped and I looked around, and I assumed it was my friends, and they were talking to each other. But I keep walking, and I hear someone laugh and say, "Sean!" And I'm like, "What?" And I hear a voice say, "Look down here." There were some planters with shrubs, and there was a heating grate behind those shrubs. And right at that spot was one of the men that I had gotten to know as an acquaintance from the service I did. And I kind of laughed and said, "I didn't see you." And he said, "Well, don't you know? No one does." He was homeless largely because it's easy to deny his humanity. And the more I thought about that, the more those thoughts turned to prayers. And the prayers became, "Lord, let me see you in the face of the poor." I hadn't been to Mass in quite some time, and I remember coming back, and I went back the following Sunday, I sat there, and this happened for a couple weeks, and I had gotten to be friends with one of the Jesuit priests. I went and talked to him, and I said, "Look, I don't know what this spiritual direction thing is, and I'm having a really hard time connecting this to the sense of faith, the kernels of faith that I feel inside." He started introducing me to Catholic social thought, and I started reading the social encyclicals of the Church. When I read those, the whole thing opened up for me, and I started to understand how the sacraments and the service and justice and faith were all a seamless garment. I'm a big believer that it's hard to do work on behalf of those who are suffering the most for the long term if you don't have a strong spiritual life. I go to daily Mass and try and make that not only the source of my spiritual life, but of my activism and my advocacy. It's about recognizing that we're connected as children of one God, and that connection is exactly where we draw the source of our strength. That it's in the living God that we have this connection to all these people who are suffering.